States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for silence for your own prayers or intentions. Very good. You may review. All right. Announcements. Probably one of the most important we want to recognize, even though it is over for them, but even though I went to Carolina, I was pulling for NC State. Go back. And they did great, both in the female and also in the male division. So congratulations to them. Also, too, this week marked the anniversary, the 105th anniversary of a lady that used to live here, Sissy Stevens, who used to live on View Street. She's now down in Raleigh with her family. 105. Sissy and Ray were around for a long time here in this town. And also, too, I want to let you know that quite a few golfers have gone ahead and have contacted me and said how much that they appreciate the fact that between the 4th and 5th fairways there, that's been mowed. So I want to say thank you, Josh, for getting that done. And that's a good sign. All right, let's do the ethics statement now. In accordance with the Code of Ethics adopted by the council, all council members have a duty to conduct the affairs of the governing board in an open and public manner, free of conflicts of interest. Is there any item on the agenda, the outcome of which may have a direct, substantial, and readily identifiable financial impact for any council member, his or her family, or close business associates?
No.
Very good. Does any council member have a financial interest in any public contract coming before this council today?
No.
There being none, all council members have a duty and an obligation to vote. We'll do a proclamation here first. This is on Earth Day, whereas Earth Day was first celebrated in 1970 and is celebrated annually when individuals from all backgrounds and walks of life unite in the global effort to advance sustainability and climate action. Whereas all people, regardless of race, gender, income, or geography, have a right to healthy, sustainable environment with economic growth and opportunities. Excuse me, and whereas EarthDay.org has selected Planet versus Plastics as this year's Earth Day theme, which is the collective commitment to tackle the plastic crisis, aiming for a bold 60% reduction in plastic production by 2040, and aspiring to forward to plastic-free future. And whereas the town of Black Mountain practices energy conservation measures at the town facility that include aren't limited to motion-sensitive activated light switches, lead converting light fixtures, thermostat set at 68 in the winter, 72 in the summer, lead and lightning and solid grade. Whereas the town of Black Mountain practices the use of waste reduction and recycling initiatives that includes recycling containers placed in parks, facilities, and offices, providing recycling pickup service to the town residents, and composting at community gardens. And whereas the town of Black Mountain practices water conservation and sustainability strategies that include, but are not limited to, river cleanup, stream bank restoration, live staking, stormwater management areas, rainwater catch basins, and organic growing practices at the community garden, pollinator garden bed installations, removal of invasive species in the parks, and use of biodegradable, eco-friendly cleaning chemicals at facilities. Now, therefore, I see Michael Sobel, Mayor of the town of Black Mountain, proclaim April 22nd as Earth Day in Black Mountain. Encourage all citizens, businesses, and institutions to celebrate the earth and commit to caring for the planet and its resources by practicing similar conservation and sustainability measures. There's also a couple of resolutions that will come before the board later on, but I want to go ahead and read them now. This is a resolution to move Black Mountain away from single-use plastics. Whereas plastic pollution starts with fossil fuel extraction and harms individuals, community ecosystems, all along the supply chain, whereas studies have shown the presence of microplastics in terrestrial and marine systems throughout the entire planet, including human food systems and human bodies, have been detected in troubling concentrations in the French Broad River into which the Shenandoah River flows. Whereas oil refineries, plastic manufacturers, incinerators are disproportionately located in low wealth and low income communities, which bear the brunt of the associated health impacts. And whereas recycling alone is insufficient to meet these threats, as plastic production accounts for 20% of global fossil fuel consumption. The majority of the plastics created cannot be recycled in standard curbside recycling programs, whereas plastic bags caused operational problems at our recycling facilities in Asheville, landfills, and transfer stations contribute to litter throughout western North Carolina. And whereas single-use plastic bags degrade the environment, pollute our rivers and streams, block storm drains, come entangled in treetops, foul public areas, whereas styrene, the main ingredients in polystyrene, has been declared as a probable carcinogen by NIH, National Research Council, the World Health Organization, and others. And whereas curbing the supply of single-use plastic will expand the lifespan of our landfills, whereas it's the duty of Black Mountain government to protect our national environment, health of its residents and visitors. Whereas Article 14, Section 5 of the North Carolina Constitution guarantees the people of the state the right to enjoy a clean and healthy environment by stating it shall be the policy of this state to conserve and protect its lands and waters for the benefit of all its citizens. To the end, it should be a proper function of the state of North Carolina's political subdivisions to acquire and preserve park, recreation, and scenic facilities for scenic areas, to control and limit pollution of our water and air, to control its excessive noise, and in every other appropriate way to preserve as part of the common heritage of the state its forests, wetlands, its streams, beaches, historic sites, open lands, and places of beauty. Now therefore be resolved, Town Council is dedicated to reducing the carbon footprint, extending the life of the county landfill, and improving quality of its water. Be it further resolved, coinciding with Earth Day, Town Council urges all government entities, private businesses, and residents to forego or limit the use of plastics, other single-use plastics, and styrofoam, whenever and whenever possible. Be it therefore resolved, the Town Council encourages all town departments to begin phasing out the use of plastic bags, single-use plastics, styrofoam, by implementing substituting products with bearable but viable alternatives where possible, or recycled plastics when the feasibility alternatives are unavailable. And there's a section, and it is resolution recognizing climate action efforts within the town of Black Mountain. Whereas the town of Black Mountain has a history of climate consciousness and dedication to the efforts for sustainability. The Elevate Black Mountain Comprehensive Plan, which was adopted by the town council in June 21, feature a section entitled Green and Sustainable, which provides sustainable development approaches that include 5 goals that will enhance quality of life, reduce long-term energy costs, increase energy efficiency, and lower greenhouse gas emissions and pollution within the town. Whereas there have been ongoing sustainability practices and new initiatives put into place by town departments following the adoption of the comprehensive plan, which includes but not limited to 1, energy conservation measures, 2, waste reduction and recycling, and 3, waste conservation strategies, 4, water conservation strategies, stormwater/water quality management practices, and the use of environmentally friendly products. Whereas examples of energy conservation measures include solar panels installed on the Carver Center, motion sensor activated lights in townhouses, and LED converted light fixtures are present in town buildings and facilities. Whereas examples of waste reduction and recycling initiatives include providing recycling pickup services to town residents. It also includes new recycling cars, The recycling containers will be placed in all town facilities, parks, and offices, and hiring a full waste reduction specialist to assist waste reduction engagement in education. And whereas example of water conservation strategies includes planned irrigation around rainfall events at the Black Mountain Golf Course to reduce the amount of water and power needed to irrigate rain catch basins and community gardens. And whereas examples of stormwater quality management practices include hiring a full-time stormwater specialist and updated stormwater master plan, completion of the stormwater utility, installation of new and improving current stormwater infrastructure such as rain gardens, bioswales, integrations of stormwater related development regulations and unified development ordinance UDO. Water quality projects on Swanville River creation of the buffer, no-mow zones to slow stormwater runoff. And whereas examples of usage of environmentally friendly products include usage of battery-powered weed eaters, battery-powered blowers to Black Mountain Golf Course, the use of biodegradable eco-friendly chemicals at town facilities, and organic practices at community garden. Whereas the town council has expressed its support for a reduction of plastic use by citizens, businesses to mitigate plastic use. Now therefore be resolved, the town council of Black Mountain, that the ongoing climate action efforts, as stated above, are recognizing the town is dedicated to continuing efforts for sustainability and will continue to work towards achieving the goals set forth in the Elevate Black Mountain Comprehensive Plan. That's it. Now, we'll have citizen comments. First up's Pat Thompson.
Hello, Black Mountain.
Good day.
So glad to see the mayor, everyone on the council, and everyone in the audience. Tonight, a lot of my comments are going to be for you, the residents of Black Mountain or Lincoln County, or residents of our Planet Earth. So I'm going to direct some of my comments to you guys, because we must go.
Pat, can we have you sit at the table so we can hear you on the microphone? For the record, thank you.
Sure.
I know you want to speak to them, but they can hear you then. Keep in mind, you got 3 minutes now.
3 minutes?
3 minutes.
Oh, I thought I had 15. Oh, you have to be kidding me. Okay.
You have 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Wow. What I want to say. Planet Earth is in danger. Why is it in danger? Because we're this beautiful blue earth ball set in black space, and we're covered by a blanket of ozone. And what we do here is that all of us use CO2.
Mayor, speak to that,
Okay.
then they can hear you.
Okay.
And we
So-
can too.
Okay, so we've got this gorgeous blue ball, and it's called Planet Earth. And surrounding it, it has an ozone layer. And everybody on this planet drives cars that emit CO2. And our appliances in our kitchens emit CO2. Our great big manufacturers emit it. And so all around the world, all this little CO2 is just drifting up to the ozone layer. And by 2050, it's going to be so thin that the sun is going to shoot down these rays, and it's going to burn up our planet. We're not going to be able to use, we're not going to be able to farm. We're not going to have enough water. It's going to be terrible. And we're sticking our heads in the sand, most of us, because we don't really want to face it, because it's overwhelming, right? It feels overwhelming. So I'm going to ask two things since I've got 3 minutes. I want you to give us an energy action plan next month because the federal government's funds are going to run out in 2 or 3 months, and you won't be able to capture all that $60 million that's going out to places that say, hey, I want some of that, and that'll save us taxpayers money. So, and tax money. The second thing is, I would like for everyone, I would like to empower you. Because you say, well, gee, what am I going to do? This is pretty awful. I've got a little list here. You can pick it up when you're leaving. It's real simple. How can you help combat climate change? Each one of you. Switch off, go to LED lights. Choose energy efficient appliances. Turn off the appliances when you are not in use. Drop the temperature in your houses 1 degree. Use public transportation. Recycle your waste energy. And get low energy fossil shower heads for your showers and toilets. If you want this, that's simple. You're empowered. You don't have to feel overwhelmed. So let's join hands. Let's do this. And next month, you've got to come with your action plan or you're going to miss the federal dollars.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mayor.
Sorry.
Appreciate it. Next up is David Wilson.
Can we still say our address?
Yes.
825 North Okanichi. I'm here because we've had some water problems. And on December 12th, we found a sinkhole in our driveway. Once the problem was addressed, it turned out to be the town's responsibility because the water meter had been buried years earlier. The sinkhole eventually was about 25 feet long and 20 feet wide, big enough for my wife's car, which was parked above it. And then when that was resolved, some of you may remember that in January we had some cold temperatures. So on the 23rd, when it finally warmed up, at the bottom of North Okanichi, a plumbing connect failed, and the rush of water apparently dislodged all the debris in the pipes that ran down the street. And so approximately 2/3 of the street, we all lost water pressure. And what water we did have was brown. So in both of those cases, Jamie Matthews and his crew came out and addressed it, working late into the night. I want to say on that second incident, I think it was 6 days. We didn't have water for 5 days. After 3 days of staying up until between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m., trying to find those leaks and patch them, they finally started over and had a contractor install all new pipe in about 30 hours, as I remember. So we got outstanding support from the town, and we want to thank you. And I know I speak for everyone on our street. We now have great water pressure, and the inconvenience in the bigger picture was totally minimal. And we were given updates constantly, which I really appreciate. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate you. Phil Bessetti.
I'm Phil Bessetti. I live at 15 Highview Drive, and I firmly believe it's our duty to recycle. I say that knowing there will be other people saying the same thing. But I mentioned that I have to hire somebody with a pickup truck to carry my bear-proof cycling. And my garbage is less than my recycling. So he has requested me to request you to have every week recycling. Next, as I drive down Broadway, I find people crossing willy-nilly all over the block. And I have to beep at them, or else I may, and doing 20 miles an hour, hit them. So I request that we have a crosswalk between the two parking lots on either side of Broadway. I think that it would make a lot of sense to have blinking lights, crosswalk, same as we have on State Street. I think it makes common sense to have it on Broadway.
Very good. Thank you, Harold, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up, Linda Tatzpaw.
Good evening to the town council, mayor.
Your address.
My address is 48 Beach Glen Drive, Black Mountain. I'm here to thank you for considering the resolution on becoming plastic free. I was here a few months ago and you all very graciously approved a resolution, I think that's the right term, but to go along with Buncombe County, if they passed a regulation to reduce single-use plastics, and the day before the General Assembly stopped that possibility. As Buncombe County was prepared to pass that. So I appreciate your willingness to support what 80% of companies and citizens that we have been able to survey are agree with. And I don't have to go through all that because we went through that and you all are in agreement. I love that we are able to pivot and ask municipalities and counties to pass a resolution asking people and businesses and your own government entities to voluntarily reduce single-use plastics and styrofoam use where possible. Again, and for the record, for those who aren't clear, there's a lot of microplastics out there in the environment that are affecting us all. We've now seen many studies that have come out. We're all consuming about a credit card size worth of plastics every week, excuse me. So again, I'm here to thank you for considering this resolution, and as well as having already an Earth Day resolution and considering the climate action one. I love that and appreciate that about this county.
Thank you, appreciate your comments. And last up, for those who signed, is Mary Soapno.
So you know.
Mary?
You're up. I'm not speaking.
Oh.
What's your name on the? Oh, I thought that was for the newsletter. I'm sorry. I'm sure we can get you one.
Yeah. Okay. That's the citizen comments.
Mr. Mayor, if I could stop you for just a second, you may want to go ahead and vote on those two resolutions. There's nowhere else on the agenda to vote for.
Oh, I thought it was on.
We're trying out something new, so we all know.
All right then. Alex?
I'll move that we adopt the resolution to move Black Mountain away from single-use plastics and the resolution do we need to do them separately?
Do the second.
Okay. The resolution to move Black Mountain away from single-use plastics.
Okay. Any discussion on it? Comments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
I
Pass
move,
unanimously.
I move that we adopt the resolution recognizing climate action efforts within the town of Black Mountain.
Any discussion, any comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, another one passed unanimously. Okay. Thank you.
All right, next will be item 4, communications from staff, councils, commissions, and agencies. And Chief Steve Parker will give the police department annual report for the calendar year of 2023.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I feel like I gotta tilt this up for myself. In an effort to try to be quick, because I know some people want to go watch the championship game, I will see if I can drive us through this as quick as possible.
Turn this on.
There we go. So I'm done. So I just wanted to highlight or tell the citizens and council and mayor a little bit about some of the things that occurred in Black Mountain and some of the crime statistics and then some of the major things that we're going through. In January, we had a drive-by shooting. We were able to work with Buncombe County SWAT team and our SWAT team together, and we were able to apprehend the suspect within 24 hours. And this thing is sensitive. Wow. So I'll press it once. It's just not working for me.
That must be your trigger.
Yeah, it must be my trigger. Then next in May, we had a home that was shot up 10 times. We worked with Buncombe County, but their SWAT team was unable to assist us, so we ended up being able to make entry and apprehend the suspect literally within several hours. Next, see, it's not just my trigger. Next, we had a murder suspect who had stabbed an 82-year-old woman to death, drove through and alerted our flock safety system that the suspect was in our area, and we were able to locate and find that suspect quickly and apprehend that suspect. Then as we go quickly, there was some murder suspects that we worked with Buncombe County as well, located those murder suspects in Black Mountain. We were able to apprehend one of the murder suspects. One of them was apprehended somewhere else. Next, we had a suspect that was in Black Mountain that had numerous warrants for some god-awful sexual deviant assaults and different things, and we ended up in a pursuit with that suspect, and the suspect later was in a SWAT standoff, and later he did decide to commit suicide. We dealt with that, and we used Buncombe County SWAT team. They assisted us with our SWAT team as well with that. And then we had the one thing that you saw there was we had a bank robbery suspect who had committed 6 bank robberies, maybe up to 13 convenience store robberies, and called in some active shooters in different areas. We were able to locate him from the flock safety system as well, and then we were able to apprehend him as well, included in that, and that ended in a pursuit. Moving on to let you know a little bit about our crime stats. So I say all those to say there's a lot of bad characters that have passed through Black Mountain, but we have been fortunate to keep our violent crime and our crime statistics low. I think part of that is through the good work of the law enforcement officers that we have. But to show you, our violent crime has currently maintained. We haven't We haven't risen in violent crime since I've been here. Our property crime's gone in the last 3-year trend from 160 to 116. I can't attribute that to anything in particular. I'm just proud to say that it has gone down. That could always shoot back up in one weekend by one person, so I always say that. Our accidents have continued to rise, but we did lower a little bit last year. And citations and warnings were basically almost one-to-one, not quite one-to-one. We try to educate as well as enforce, so it's not all about enforcement for us. We want to make sure that we're educating the public as well. Next, just to let you know, we had about 1,493 calls per month, so we're staying busy. That's very busy. I'll fly by that statistic because I just went over it in the next statistic, and then go to the next slide. What I did want to make mention is that overdose calls, we had 29 overdose calls. What I do want to say about that is that's a little misleading, right? A lot of times EMS or fire will get called out to an overdose and we won't get called. That's still a huge number to me, but there's a lot of times that we don't know, and there's still a lot of overdoses that occur. People just somebody drives somebody to the hospital, different things like that, or people are Narcaning, they're bringing Narcan to their overdose parties now, so that sometimes they're not even common. And then mental health calls, this is the one, you've heard me say this for several years, but 241 calls for mental health. So basically almost once a day we're getting a mental health crisis call. Those are serious calls, right? That could be someone who's suicidal, homicidal, something's going on. So those are always the scary calls for us, but just to let you know that we're dealing with that a lot more as time goes on. We're seeing that increase. And then I talked about the flock hits. I wanted to just say that we had 96 total hits from the flock camera last year. 17 stolen cars or recovered stolen tags were located, and 19 wanted or missing people were located. So that, I think those have proved their weight in gold, no question about it. Then the next slide, I just wanted to let council know where we stand. So applications, this is where, you know, we keep talking about it, Retention is the most important thing, but recruitment is definitely becoming more and more difficult. We only had 24 total applications all year. Back in the day, I can remember getting several hundred applications, you know, so things have really changed, become very difficult for us to recruit. As a matter of fact, I looked today and we've only had one application in the last 4 months. Now that's the bad news, right? That's the bad news side. The good news is that we're full. So that's the first time in my 31-year career that I've been in a law enforcement agency that's full. So I want to knock on wood, that's a really good thing for this community. However, when I say full, if you look, there's two numbers, the one to the right. The orange is our operational shortage. So even though we're full, it takes us a year to train somebody, to get them on. Somebody might be on FMLA. There's so many different factors. So we were down up to 5 to 6 almost the entire year of 2023. Right now we're only down 2 operationally, but that's just a continual challenge that we always have to go through that we're working on. Then just want to talk a little bit, since it's budget time, we're going through budget. I know council's tasked with that tough task, but just a quick snippet over the last 3 years, inflation, consumer costs are 18%. Why do I say that? Because I think the public needs to know or hear it from me. When we do ask for things, let's say it went up 6% in a year, and I only raised my budget by 5%. Yes, that's a raise by 5% to the budget, but I lost 1% to my expenditure. So if we don't keep up with what the economy and growth, that actually makes me suffer and makes the department suffer in the long run. One of the things that I wanted to show is from our budget. You know, a lot of people say, oh, they want a lot of money, they want a lot of money. I want to show the community that 81% of our budget is tied up in salaries and benefits. And then another 12% is technology and software. So operationally, I operate an entire police department, training, office supplies, everything, $192,000. I know households in Black Mountain that don't operate off of $192,000. So I think that we do a very good job in making sure that we take care of the citizens and their finances and only ask for what we actually need to operate. So I just wanted to show that. I think it paints a clear picture. Then just to show how good we're doing operationally, Weaverville has 4,600 people. Their budget was 50,000 less than ours. So they have half the population. I'd argue they probably have half the tourism, I would say, that Black Mountain does, but yet they only operated 50,000 less than we did with double the population. Shows that we're doing pretty good. Then Marion, who has 1,000 less than us, operated with $100,000 more than we did. So they don't even come close to the spectrum on tourism that we do. So I just wanted to give an example that to the citizens that when we're asking for things, that they're things we need and that we're not operating carelessly, and we're making sure that there are things that they need, but we're right in line with some other departments. I can really say that we're probably a lot less than them. We've been underfunded for years. Other thing that I wanted to show is that we do have a tracking system, and you can go one more slide. We're constantly tracking our pursuits, our use of forces, our complaints. This is just me showing you so that as a leader, I'm making sure that we're watching what's going on within our department, making sure that we're using good tactics, and we're watching, reviewing, and going through. We have reviews as well. So that's just an example I just wanted to show you. Next, I'm almost done. I don't want to be too long. We're almost done with the accreditation process. I'm praying it goes well. I will say that they had a pilot program. The pilot program's done. We are touted to be the first in the state outside of the pilot program. Very proud of the staff. They've done an amazing, amazing job. This is what the Attorney General has said. This is what he expects out of the best of the police departments across the state. We possibly might be the first one to get accredited in the state outside of the pilot program. That is a very big deal for this community and the residents. I wanted to show just quickly, and I'm not going to get in depth of this, there is about 80 pages of this spreadsheet of requirements that we have to do. Training, standards, reviews, making sure that our department is the best of the best. So when we are asking for the finances that we need for training, it's a requirement. These are requirements coming from the state. We're not just arbitrarily asking for some of these things. So if you'll go to the next. This is just several slides showing all the things that we have been doing to work towards this accreditation with the Attorney General's office. I can say also that there is a line of at least 76, that line's growing, of other agencies that want to be in the mix, and it's going to take them several years to get there. And then lastly, as I finish out, and we go to the last two slides, I wanted to make sure that I covered, we are going through, I think we have an agreement on for RMS, CDE, CAD, that is coming up. The big major hurdle, which we talked about 2 months ago, is just remember this agreement is a necessary agreement for us to continue to get dispatched through the county. There was hurdles with the agreement, but I also want to say that in 2 to 3 years they are purchasing a new RMS CAD. You heard me talk about that several months ago. And that will come with a cost, so I just want to make sure that you know that and are aware of that was some of the challenges, but they were negotiated probably over a year and a half time. I think they wanted to kick me out of the room many, many times through that. And then last, this is our number one need. I'm not afraid to say it. I want to think about planning. I want to think about what we look like in the future, right? We know we're getting ready to have an interstate interchange added. What's that going to bring? Always brings gas stations, restaurants, people stopping, more tourism. What's that bring? More work for us. And then Montreat expansion, which is good expansion, but that all brings more growth for us. Currently, I cannot house 2 police officers in my police department. I have no room. No room for equipment, no room for people. None. Zero. It is a huge need. That building was built 65 years ago. We moved into it 32 years ago, which I'm sure that building was more than sufficient 32 years ago. It is not now. And I'll show you some of the challenges just quick. This is our evidence room. There's water leaking in our evidence room. You have one more slide, and that's water leaking in where the power and generator is. That's where the person installed our EV equipment. These are huge issues. It's not a secret. It's not a challenge that I'm not willing to take on and address on why we need it. I know it's a big deal for council. That's money, right? How do we get there? Where do we get there? Doesn't need to be done tomorrow. I just think that everybody needs to be thinking about where do we drive as a future, as a community, to make sure that public safety can serve the community the way that it needs to. And that's all I had for my review, if anybody has any questions.
I don't have a question, but I will say, we've got accreditation, and as far as I know, nobody told you you had to do that. And I'm really just delighted that we are on the forefront and that you're driving if we're gonna have police, let's have really good police. And I appreciate you taking that on.
I always say, hopefully we're like an insurance policy. The best and greatest insurance policy you can have. Hopefully you never, ever have to use it. But when you do, they damn well better be right when they get there. Any other?
Chief, I just have one quick question. With the 1,400 calls per month, do you know roughly how that compares to previous years?
So I think that we aligned from last year almost maybe 50 different, so 50 increase per month. Previous years, I don't have the exact stats right now, so I can get that for you and send it to you.
Okay. Do you have, I mean, obviously you don't have the exact numbers, but do you have an idea, a rough idea of how many of those 1,400 end up requiring action to be taken from a police officer?
I think everyone has to have some sort of action from police, but if you mean like an investigation, a report, something to that,
yes.
No, I don't have any way of nailing that exactly down with our current computer environment that we have, so I don't have a way to do that. I would say that I would probably put a guess.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even want to be held to it. I would say that would probably be in the realm of 20 to 25%, where there was an additional action outside of just meeting with a person and going through and trying to help them, but I don't know.
Okay, great. Well, thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Thank you.
Chief, thank you very much. I constantly sing the praises.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All right, next we'll do a presentation on sustainability practices. Jessica Trott.
I always hate to follow Chief Parker. All right, so some of you may know that my career started in sustainability planning, and I teach environmental governance. So to not disappoint you, we're going to start with the definition on the difference between sustainability and resiliency. some of these terms get used interchangeably, and I just wanted to be clear that when we talk about that they are different terms, and that when we talk about resiliency, we're talking about the ability for the organization and the community to roll with the punches of the things that are thrown at them, whether it be pandemic, natural disaster, economic upheaval, social upheaval, all those things. How do we continue to deliver high-quality services in the midst of challenge? So when you think about, this term is really borrowed from ecology, when we see plants growing back after a disaster, this sort of idea. But when we talk about sustainability, we're talking about these practices that help propel us into the future without consequences of long-term damage to those who are going to come after us. And certainly sustainable practices set us up to be more resilient. So there's my little definition. Sustainability practices really live at the nexus of people, planet, and prosperity. Without one of these working, you really can't get there. But tonight, we're only really talking to environmental sustainability. And you've actually talked about a lot of these things tonight, and so I'm not going to drag you back through a lot of these, but I did want to mention that Elevate Black Mountain, our Greening Outdoor Economies Plan, our Stormwater Master Plan and permit requirements, our Parks and Rec Plan, and are all calling for various sustainability requirements, whether it's maintaining our environment in a way that is beautiful and inviting and accessible to folks, or advancing our operational practices or work in the community. They all, one way or another, touch on that. And also in the planning and development budget, there will be budgeting for a sustainability plan, which is called for in Elevate Black Mountain. This is generally a lot of what you talked about in your resolutions. But I did want to point out a couple of things. So in water resources, we do a lot of work in Black Mountain. And some of the key indicators, which are on the far right, include the number of IDD investigations. These are water pollution calls that we get required to investigate personal water permit. The number of workshops and the number of people who participate in those, the number of linear feet of stream restored. We have 15 green stormwater control measures. And you might be going, Jessica, why do you only have a number besides some of these? I actually have numbers for several of these, but not all. And in this category, key indicators, what's so difficult about municipal sustainability, particularly in a city our size, is housing that data, finding that data, maintaining that data. That takes a lot of work. But we're ready to take it on, but it takes time. So under transportation and mobility, Black Mountain really is very active and engaged with active mobility options, whether it's sidewalk projects, greenways and trails, which are great to promote both public health outcomes, protecting local air quality, reducing carbon emissions. It's really to get a lot of bang for your buck. In the built environment, you heard about a lot of these, whether they're solar panels or EV charging stations, and our key indicators could be the number of kilowatt hours produced by solar installations, utilization of EV chargers, green space and land use. We have a great and strong community garden program. We have parks management and expansion. Our UDO calls for more generous open space requirements and subdivisions and things like this. We also have a lot of floodway and floodplain management requirements that are very demanding on staff and keep us very engaged with the community. So things that indicators we can be looking at are the acres of green space that we have, the education enforcement of floodway and floodplain protection requirements, and again, number of linear feet with the stream figures services get a lot of, as another one, we get a lot of benefit from the community. In solid waste, we have our solid waste reduction specialist. We have paperless business practices. We're going to hear some more about even greater record keeping options later in this meeting. Recycling and litter education, curbside recycling, pickup, composting of the garden, and every year, Jamie Matthews, he has his annual report, is able to provide us some data on the number of tons diverted from the landfill. These are great metrics that we need to follow too. And the greater we develop this information, the parameters on we can set goals, benchmarks, and moving forward. So we have a sustainability working group. It is in its infancy. It is myself and 3 other key staff who touch sustainability. It's part of their job on a daily basis, but we are reaching out to everyone else. We just can't put the meeting on everybody's calendar. So really defining what does sustainability look like in the municipal setting for our people. We don't want a generic definition. And we're working on how to start feeding in all these channels of data, whether it's how much energy we're using in the building, water, all of these things, both in our operational side and our community education side. Because when we're talking sustainability for the town, we're talking our buildings and our people. And then there's a sustainability dashboard project. I like numbers and graphs, and I like visualization software. And so as we start getting some of this information, we can start feeding it into a dashboard on the town website that will automatically update as we feed more data into it. So it'll look a little something like that when it gets going. But first, we have to track down the numbers. So that's it. Thank you. Any questions?
One of the things you pointed out that was energy efficient in design. Do we have any programs that try to involve the builders before they get to designing a building? And so that how that they can go ahead, and also existing homeowners who wish to retrofit, be it insulation, be it windows, be it doors, how do they benefit from this?
So we do have incentives for folks who have a LEED certified building or similar rating system. LEED has lost a little bit of its luster over the last few years because there's a variety of rating systems. Also in the community, we promote weatherization programs and things like that that are operated through community action groups and other nonprofits.
So we don't do it, but we refer them to Buncombe County to get that done.
Yes.
Anybody have a question? Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica.
All right, the number 5, our consent agenda consists of a few items. Item A will be adoption of meeting minutes, March 7th agenda workshop, March 11th regular meeting, and March 21st special called meeting. Item B will be the monthly property tax collection report. Item C, consideration of 5 budget amendments, correction of recycling carts budget amendment from last month to add in, I believe, the shipping costs with some of that. Relocation of administration, HR, and finance budget adjustment.
That's not going to be taken up tonight, correct? That'll be next meeting, the shipping costs and the assembly costs.
That's all on this budget amendment.
Yeah, well, this was just to move it because the account number was wrong on the last month's agenda item that you accepted, we put transfer out.
Oh.
The account number instead of the appropriated fund balance. So it was no real effect. You'd already approved that amount.
We have approved the amount to
From last month.
assemble for delivery of the carts
No.
and for assembly.
No, that'll be on the next month.
So, okay.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Reallocation of parks and recreation and pool budget adjustment for police department sponsorship and golf tournament. And then 5 Valentine 5K donation expense. Item 5D is a call for public hearing for text amendment to Chapter 20, Article 5, specifically nuisances. 5E will be a call for public hearing for a text amendment to Chapter 43, Article 6, to add a downtown social district. Item F will be resolution to apply through the Great State, I always get this wrong, resolution to apply through the Great Trails State Program Grant for professional engineering funding for the Ridgecrest Connector Trail. G, consideration of resolution to apply for the water infrastructure grant through NC Department of Environmental Quality, or DEQ, water infrastructure grant for lead line inventory and replacement. H, call for public hearing for conditional zoning for Montreat College. And then I, call for public hearing for map amendment for Montreat College. That'll be your consent agenda for the evening.
Going back to the consideration of to apply for the water grant infrastructure, we have gone ahead and there's several different grants. As best I can figure, we missed the first one, correct?
We missed the very first round, that's correct.
Okay. How many more rounds will there be?
That I don't know.
So we don't know whether how much money is
They're
going
not
to be
telling
left.
yet.
They're not telling yet.
Okay.
Okay.
No.
So this second round will be up to, what, June 14th or something, that it's gotta be applied by?
June-ish, yes, yes.
Anybody wanna make a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I move to approve all consent agenda items as presented.
Any discussion, any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Unanimous?
All right, next one will be our public hearings. Item A, voluntary annexation of property owned by Gibbons Highland Farms. Jessica. You want to give us
Here.
a break, just a brief summary, and then we can open
Yeah,
it?
summary on
Sure, so Gibbons Highland Farms has made a voluntary annexation application for a parcel that is a little over 5 acres in size, and it was heard by the planning board at the February meeting. The planning board doesn't make a recommendation on annexations, they just make comment, and they did not have any concerns with this application. Whoops. See that arrow pointing to that rectangle right there? It's on Francis Road, which is a private road. And they completed their application that was received by staff, and had all the required elements.
And so the light yellow that we see kind of in the upper left side of the image, that's all county,
That's
right?
right.
That's
So it's
how that's
contiguous.
indicated. And so the pink is Gibbons Highland
It
Farms'
is.
existing area, and, or are the blocks of color about different zoning areas?
All the different colors are, yes,
Different
and all the
zoning,
red
okay.
lines are different parcels.
And that has been, Highland Farms owns that piece of property. Okay. There was something I saw in there about a right-of-way, about the gentleman Bartlett that wanted to get a right-of-way to his well. That,
Didn't come up in any of the conversations at the planning board.
Just for to orient myself, where would Fortune Street be on that?
Oh, I could probably
Down
go.
into, if you look where the pink and the blue meet, you go down about midway to the right.
it's gonna be right at the end of that arrow there.
Yeah,
That's Francis.
I think it's this, it might be this little black street right here.
That's a string.
It's not labeled, but I think that's it right
The parcel that previously we were talking about, Fortune Street, is right here, where it says Fortune Street.
That's
It's hard to
Fortune.
read, but right, this is right here.
Thank you.
No, that was Fox on the Run's old place then.
Open the public hearing.
I have it from the agenda packet from Thursdays.
Yeah. That's the one on Francis Street, looking for the one.
Yeah, we, on Thursday, we were notified that Gibbons had removed their request for the Fortune Street consideration.
Yes, there
Yeah.
were two applications percolated, but this is the only one moving forward this time.
And they are kind of immaterial to one another.
That is absolutely true, they're independent.
You can open the hearing,
Well,
open the public hearing.
you want to go ahead and make a motion to open up the public hearing?
I'll move to open the public hearing.
Okay.
And I believe Ken Kramer from Gibbons is here if you have any questions.
Any questions, any discussions? Not all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Didn't see any sign up on this, so. We do have a public hearing that's open. If anyone from the audience wishes to come and speak to this issue, the voluntary annexation, 5 acres on, a little over 5 acres on Francis Street. Step forward. All right, don't see anybody, so do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Public hearing is closed. Do I hear a motion then for the,
I just have a couple questions for Jessica.
sorry.
They'll be, should be easy. When we annex land like this, Gibbons is tax exempt, right?
This is true.
And they're on Asheville water.
That is right.
Okay. So there's no, under current ownership, there's no tax benefit to the town of Black Mountain, is that right?
Not property tax.
Property tax, right? And same with water usage, right, we're paying Asheville water. Are there any expenses that we should be, additional expenses that we should be considering? Road maintenance, I don't know, and it's all private property, but anything that we should?
Well, when they're brought into the town, they're eligible for, all of the services that you currently provide, any resident, and currently provide to the rest of the campus. So police and fire would mainly come to mind.
Okay, that's fine, thank you.
Where does this fall into where we have a piece of property, people want to voluntarily annex, let's say like the settings in regards to purchase of water?
Well, in this instance, they already have access to water. If they did not have access to water, it would be required.
Since they already have access.
That's right.
That's the,
And the issue on that other, from a year ago, there is no water on that site. And that's why we're asking for that. There is no access to water.
okay. Well, do we have a motion then to,
I'll move to approve voluntary annexation of property known as 99999 Francis Avenue to the town of Black Mountain Town limits.
any discussion, further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed? Unanimous? Continue on with the second.
Next up, maybe a rezoning slide.
Did you turn it off?
It's haunted too much. Okay, now it's got an attitude. Okay, so we have more colors because we're gonna be looking at the existing zoning designation. Here is R1 in the county. It's a residential district. The applicant is asking to be rezoned to OI6 to go along with the rest of their campus. And planning board voted unanimously to rezone to OI6. And you can see here some comparison to the R1 district and OI6. There is a greater list of allowable uses in OI6 as well. But you can see here that there are some trade-offs, but your greatest difference is some of the setbacks vary between the existing and requested.
So one of the biggest things I see right off is the fact of the density.
Yes, if you were doing single-family residential. In OI6, you do have a significantly larger list of potential uses, and when you are zoning with a conventional zoning request, then you are approving all of those potential uses. Single-family residential, two-family, government facilities, group institutional uses, places of worship, educational facilities, and public utilities, accessory structures, camps, breweries, distilleries, art galleries, bar, bed and breakfast, health facilities, home occupation, laundromats, medical facilities and clinics, mobile food vendors and food vendor courts, professional offices and services, restaurants, taverns.
So you're saying all those things could be built on it if it's rezoned?
Yeah, they're all allowed in OI6 period.
Yeah.
in their district existing, yeah.
And all of Gibbons Estate right now is OI 6. All right, well, let's call, take a motion, call for a public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Anyone wish to speak, please move forward. Not seeing anyone, I hear closed to the public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone want to make a motion to approve the ordinance rezoning?
Can I make one comment?
Go ahead.
Since my time here, we haven't had a lot of these. So the general statutes require that as part of the rezoning that you adopt for a map amendment, statement of consistency and reasonableness. I'd like the record to reflect that rather than having a separate statement, you have baked into your ordinance language dealing with the statement of consistency and reasonableness. The statute contemplates that you would adopt a statement of consistency and reasonableness. So when you say, I'm going to adopt the ordinance, you're sort of skipping over the fact that baked in here, you also have a statement of consistency and reasonableness. So I like to see you either consider either two options. One, to say, I'm adopting an ordinance which includes the statement of consistency and reasonableness, or you adopt the ordinance as a motion and then do a separate motion to adopt the statement of consistency and reasonableness that's reflected in the ordinance. To expedite things, you can do it all as one motion. I just like the record to reflect that you are considering that when you're doing these actions.
So we have a chance of doing it quicker if we go with the former. Anybody, or do you want to go with the latter? Anybody want to make a motion? One of those two.
So if you go with the former, you would make a motion to adopt the ordinance, which includes statement of the statement of consistency and reasonableness language that's in the ordinance. So you're dealing all with one motion.
Anybody wish to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right, Archie makes the motion.
I'll move to adopt the ordinance in accordance with consistency and reasonableness in the ordinance.
That's great.
That's it.
Wesley will figure out the minutes, but the intent is that you're adopting a statement of consistency and reasonableness as part of the ordinance.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And the rest of the motion is to approve the ordinance rezoning.
And to approve the ordinance rezoning property known as 99999 Princess Avenue from R1 to OI 6.
Okay. Any discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Jesse. Have anybody signed up for the second citizen comments? John?
Unfinished business, number 8A will be Carver Center flooring replacement. We did talk about this a little bit at our last meeting, and so we're back again now with some more pricing options. We'll have Josh Anderson present that to council.
So let me find the papers.
Well, I've got another piece of paper for you. There are 3 quotes listed here, and then we had a late edition as of Friday afternoon. So we have another one. Just get it in there.
Thank you.
So, to refresh your memory on this issue, the Carver Center had some flooding a year ago in a classroom, and here we are a year later trying to get the floor replaced. So we had initially put this Blackmount Handyman quote on the agenda, and staff was asked to find some other quotes, and I just need to let you know why that was chosen. Because it has set for a year with moisture in the floor, they do run a dehumidifier in this classroom. I checked with Aaron at Montessori, it's emptied about 3 times a week. So there's about a 50-50 chance that there is
mold underneath that floor that obviously is used in a school classroom, so there is some area of concern. Black Mountain Handyman at the time was the only estimate that we got where they could do everything in one fell swoop. So replace the floor, remediate the mold, and then deal with any asbestos that was under there. So that's kind of why that was chosen. You see the other quotes. I do need to let you know that the second quote with Rodriguez Flooring, that is with us providing the materials, which we had a budget amendment done in November for just the materials. We had a staff member on staff of Public Works that could do the work, and they have since left, so we were unable to complete that. So that quote does go along with us purchasing the materials, and you see the other ones with the addition I just gave you. So we just need some direction as to how you would like to proceed with this.
Can I ask, so, just so I know apples to apples here. So the Arborzen one was 5,423. The Black Mountain Handyman was 13,500. So I know that's, I'm just trying to grasp what's different here. And then this newest one we got was about 7,000. So can you help me understand why one's so much better?
Other than what's listed in here, I really don't know. I'm not a flooring specialist. So it's hard for me to really know why their costs are so much higher.
But Rodriguez is the only one that doesn't have materials in it?
Correct. That would be, we still need to purchase the materials, which has to be estimate there from Lowe's with that for the materials that we would need. If we do go with one of these other companies and we get into a situation where there is mold on the floor, the other companies have said, hey, we can't touch that. So if we get into that situation, then we're going to have to call in somebody that can remediate that mold.
That's a big deal.
It is, but and there again, it's a 50-50 chance. We don't really know what's underneath there.
Yeah, we had that issue there when we redid the flooding and knitting mills for the soccer center. We had some in there, it was not a big deal to take care of. And I see here on Carpet City, they got moisture mitigation in there, bid there.
Okay.
That's probably the layer that they put down.
Moisture barrier,
Yeah.
could be, yeah.
Which,
About a service for the product.
yeah, which
Or material.
I think everyone has a barrier there.
Well, if you look at those fees, the handyman, his costs do not include mold remediation or asbestos abatement.
Yeah.
Those are optional, and about 15,000 for this.
Right, so that's not baked into the current estimate, right?
No, it's not.
Well, Josh, what do you think is the best option?
I'm kind of in the same boat you're in. I really don't know. Until we rip it up, we just don't know what we're dealing with. I don't want to make suggestions. Now we're here.
There again, that's one of the big things about going with a flooring company as opposed to the handyman research. They've dealt with this before. I mean, this is not their only radio they've been to. So I think that either one of these two companies, Rodriguez or Carpet City, would be able to handle it. I mean, not Rodriguez, but Arborzen.
Yeah.
Would be.
And the Arborzen Club does, they have offered to discount us a little bit on the flooring.
That's nice.
Arborzen, you said? Is that reflected in the?
It is. If you look at that line 3, there's 100 square feet of donated flooring.
Oh, yeah.
And they come in at 1,500 less than Carpet City, so I'm inclined to move forward with Arborzen.
Go ahead and make an informal motion.
I move to provide staff with direction on to move forward with Arborzen.
I think that's fine.
Any more discussion on it? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Josh.
All right, our next item is the PSIP agreement, or the Public Safety Interoperability Program. we've talked about this, it's been a little bit since we've talked about it, but the last discussion we had, we kind of went through it. I'm gonna tag in Craig here. He was involved with the county attorney on making some of these changes that we had discussed at at least at the last meeting, we talked about this agreement, so. Craig?
Yeah, there's actually three separate agreements as part of this. There's what's called, and this is all in your packet, there's an intergovernmental agreement between Buncombe County and the town. It's sort of the broader framework of an agreement dealing with the use of public safety technology through the county as the vendor. And then there are two separate agreements that sort of give more detail about the level of service or kind of service quality that we're supposed to get. That's the service level agreement. And then as a component of this, there's a lot of record inputs that take place as part of these services. And there's a separate centralized data entry agreement that's called the Service and Cost Share Agreement. I would say, and I've said this to Josh, a lot of these things are like reading how to build a blender and 20,000 pages of that, and it's a lot of complexity to it. I made comments to try to hone in on certain things that were very broad, to try to give a little bit more detail and clarification. County did come back with edits to achieve that. I'm comfortable in moving forward because the town's already in it, that have some experience with it. This is important for the town to have these services, and effectively it's a one-year agreement. So if we get through the year and there are things that are not working out, or there's some clarification, we can work through that. And if we need to exit, but of course we wouldn't exit unless we had an alternative. All in all, I'm comfortable with where we are, but there are three separate agreements that are under the umbrella of PSIP.
Now, this piece of it here, is that an annual cost also that can be subject to change?
It is, you bake in our exposure on an annual basis.
Okay, but I know CDE is.
Oh yeah, this is all an annual thing. Yes.
And I think it might be helpful just to give a brief overview of what we're talking about, so
Let me take a shot at it. So, years ago, we had dispatchers here that did our dispatch services. At that time, a different chief, it was decided with his recommendation to let the county do dispatch and us put more boots on the ground. We needed more officers. So that's the route we took. At that point, I wanted to get the same deal that Woodfin and Weaverville got, which was free. They didn't pay anything for any of this. Well, when we came on board, it was time to start charging people because we couldn't get it free like everyone else got for years. So that's kind of led us to where we are now. Steve and I, the chief and I, have been in multiple meetings with county officials over the past year, other municipal officials, everyone in this county that is going to be on this system. Weaverville, Woodfin, both. Essentially what we're paying for is, what we're going to be paying for is going to be this whole system, software, very expensive. Their software's out of date. They can't update it anymore, so they've got to buy new software. Millions of dollars is what the software will be. The CDE part of it, I've never been a fan of, and I still don't agree with it. But it is something that, they want us to do. The other jurisdictions have already approved to do it. I have not been a big fan of it. Essentially, we're paying for the people that we arrest in this town. And I don't think that's right to do that. But that's what we've got, and that's what's in front of you. We've tried to back out of that portion of it, and there's just no desire from the county to let us do that.
Give us a little overview about what we're looking at for the next, let's say, 5 years, because the chief went ahead and alluded to the fact that we're,
I can't do that, Mayor. I don't know. They would all be hypothetical.
So every
that I
year-
told you, because I don't know what that's gonna cost for that system they're gonna be
I think I
buying.
see here that when you, that it's, that on the budget for 23-24, you know, it went from 1.69 million, or it's going up to 1.69 million from 1.44, so that's a $250,000 that's gone up, is what they're talking about now. Will the new software be in addition to that?
Absolutely. It absolutely will be. We will be paying for that software, that's correct.
If I recall from the presentation that we had, however many months ago that was, it's kind of like a 3-year onboarding process, and that's gonna be at kind of a higher rate as we do that, and then.
I think it's gonna take them about 3 years to get that working,
Something like
the
that.
system working. And
But
the
until we-
person selected, we just don't know that cost at
Because
this
they
point.
haven't gotten bids.
That's correct. We're way early on that process.
And really, you don't have a say.
We don't have a whole lot of
Their
say.
negotiations.
We don't, we just don't.
Yeah.
So does this agreement preclude us from going ahead and leaving the agreement and putting in our own 4 dispatchers down the road to this?
Not at all.
You can exit this agreement upon giving 1 year notice.
I don't think that would be a financial smart move at all, but.
Well, I mean, but since we don't know what the costs are, I mean,
Well, I'll let Chief, he can talk about what CD, or what PSIP would cost us to do in-house.
I think a couple things just to make sure we're cautious. Number one, we don't have a place to operate dispatch. The way that it was operated prior, I wouldn't even do it. People coming up to the window, all the 911 SWAT calls coming in, wouldn't do it. So we'd have to find a place to do it, and we would have to have at least 6 dispatchers. We'd have to have a 2-console system so that if there's an emergency, and then we'd have to have our own new CAD RMS system, because we currently don't have one. The one that we have is only a records management system. It's not a CAD that dispatches to the car, to the computer. It was antiquated 25, 30 years out from what they were using prior to this. And so the cost estimate, because I've done this before, would be somewhere around $350,000 a year. So just another thing that I think everybody should know is there's been a lot of analysis done for the CDE. Originally, they were wanting to charge us it was near $100,000. And we were able to get them to go all the way down to $17,000.
You say what CDE means, so.
That CDE is a processing for anybody that's arrested.
Centralized data entry.
What does that stand for?
Oh, centralized data.
Entry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so basically it's the booking process, so they're just entering in the data. So we've negotiated with them and got them down tremendously. We do need a new software. The software that the county is using is 28 years old. And actually the company has said that they're no longer going to support it. So they've actually said, we're not supporting this software anymore. And they basically said, you got to end of life 2 to 3 years. And they pushed it out and given them that. So they basically gave them an ultimatum. But running a dispatch center, I've run 2. And currently, you're looking at a minimum of $350 a year for the 2-call center, the equipment, the CAD, the RMS, and then the employees.
All right.
Any other questions?
So we're gonna we got 3 agreements here we got to deal with.
Both of those need separate votes.
You know, I'd probably do it separately, or ultimately authorizing the mayor to enter into agreement. So I would just authorize the mayor to enter the intergovernmental agreement between Buncombe County and the town of Black Mountain that's provided in your packet, and then move on to the service level agreement, and then move on to the service and cost share agreement.
All right. Anyone got a motion on the intergovernmental agreement? Buncombe County and the town of Black Mountain.
Someone.
Okay. Any discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. Next to accept the service level agreement?
So moved.
All right, Ryan makes the motion. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And last, we're going to have a service cost share agreement. And what we're looking at here on that one, Josh, that's going to be one that's 132,000.
Yeah, that's right.
132,000, which includes the VSIP and then the CD.
No, and I'll say the 132,000 saves us money. When we had dispatch, we paid more than that out in salaries.
Absolutely.
Does that start current now or the next?
It'll start July 1. We're paying less than that now.
What do we pay now?
I think it's about 70-ish. We don't pay CDE right now.
Okay. So it is, it's the same as what we're currently
Need anybody to make a motion? To accept the service and cost share agreement. Discussion. Not all in favor?
Aye.
It's not together, I think.
New business.
All right. First item will be the consideration of the Charles D. Owen Babe Ruth MOU. Mr. Henderson.
All right, so in your packet, you have a copy of a revised MOU. And then you also have some images and a map. The only change to this MOU is really to include the addition of some structures to be placed at Veterans Park. Charles D. Owen Babe Ruth approached me about a month ago and said, hey, we'd like to have some batting cages, and they are out of storage currently. We have pretty limited storage over there, and so they're looking to install some mobile batting cages. If you've been out to Veterans Park, during baseball season, you've seen the temporary fencing that we put up in the outfields. The way that fencing works is if there's a rubber sleeve that goes to the ground, the poles go into the sleeve and hold the fence up. These batting cages would be similar in nature, have rubber sleeves that go into the ground, put the poles up in the netting. They are going to purchase these if this is approved, and then we would, Public Works would install them, and we would store them at our building down there. So that, I don't know if you guys have any questions about any of that, that's what they're looking to do.
Well, I was gonna ask you what the downsides would be, but I'm sure you wouldn't have brought it to us if you had significant concerns.
I don't know if there are really any concerns. I've worked in other municipalities where we have had municipal-owned batting cages in the parks. I mean, it's a pretty common thing these days with baseball fields for them to have batting cages. I think Babe Ruth had over 300 kids last year in baseball, and so there's not a lot of space out there anyway, and this would give them the opportunity to do some more practice and work with the kids to develop their skills if they were able to have this amenity. I would view it, I know, from just a standpoint of having something in the park or liability or things of that nature, I would view it as another amenity like a playground or a shelter or a bench or anything like that we would install or put up.
If there's damage to it, outside of, Owen, by the public, who's responsible for that?
It would not be us.
It would not be us.
Yeah. And they are aware of that.
Yeah. I know that we've had some issues with.
Anything you put in the park, it pretty much, you can plan on it, something happened to it.
And then, so under the field maintenance management and the MOU, I know that last year they had a group go out and spread dirt and they got community involved and stuff like that. Just want to make sure that that's possible should they choose, request to do that again.
They're doing that currently.
Okay. so the altercations to the integrity of the field, we can just approve outside of what's outlined here.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
I think you spoke to my only question, which is just, knowing that these cages will be up and generously for the public to use between practices and that kind of thing during the season, is if there was any change in liability for us. I see the piece about holding liability insurance and all of that, but, there's some issues with.
I'm gonna refer to the town attorney really on that, from my perspective, I see it as another park community and the parks are kind of use at your own risk.
I didn't know if that changed if we weren't providing the equipment and then someone, anyway, but,
So repeat the question.
So with these, padding cages provided by the Babe Ruth organization, they're open to the public to use when they're not using them during the season that they're out. Do we have any liability that we need to be concerned about if we're not providing the equipment, but we're?
The liability stuff is generally based on reasonableness of the government. And so if you know of some problem with something, you need to be aware of it.
Damage.
Right, but we have certain levels of governmental immunity that are different than private parties. So it is never necessarily a good question to ask an attorney. Let's just say anything that we do when we provide something, there's always a specter of liability. Whether we actually have it or not is a very detailed question.
But you don't have concerns with the agreement that's before us?
I'm not very concerned about it. Yes.
I would just also say that I want to thank Owen for providing the cages and willing to pay for them, and I hope that the kickoff of the season goes well.
Yes.
All right.
Move to approve, so I'll be on Babe Ruth and MOU and then temporary battery cages and the storage building with that as well.
Any discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you, John. All right, 9B is consideration of the 2024 Black Mountain Golf Course rates becoming effective May 1st of 2024. I'd like to have our golf pro, Brent Miller, come up and present this. Thank you, Brent.
Good evening, Mayor, Board, thanks for having me up to this council, sorry. Basically, the reason I'm here is to get the rates set for May 1st through April the 30th of this year. The reason I'm requesting the increase basically is because the same reason the other departments are. We're seeing a lot of costs go up, but we've also got some projects that we want to try to do over the next couple of years. We want to do our tees, especially our forward tees for our ladies and our seniors are playing. They're quite honestly in pretty bad shape just because of the size of them. We need to increase those tee complexes, and we got to make more money to do that. We're trying to pay our own way, not be a big burden on the taxpayers. So I think this is really the only way to do it. So I'll start, you guys have this in front of you? Okay. So you should have a daily rates sheet, a membership rate sheet, and then what I'm going to be proposing, so you can kind of look and see what the other golf courses around us are doing. I'll start with our annual pass rates. So right now for our family, we're at $2,200. I'm asking to go to $2,300. The individual, we're at $1,500, and I'm asking to go to $1,550. It's fairly minimal. The riding rate is going to be $22.43. This is prior to tax for 18 holes. And the 9-hole rate is going to be $12.15. It looks a little different than years past. After talking with Tammy, we need to have it passed as the pre-tax rate, so that's why it looks like that. I want to change something this year for pass holders. In the past, we had some rules where they couldn't walk before noon, but I do want to make the pass where it's it has a little more value to them, so pass holders can walk anytime. Non-pass holders can't walk before noon on weekends, which is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think that's a fair thing for somebody who's willing to pay for the entire year to play the golf course. So then we moved down to the greens fee rates. Right now we're at $50 Monday through Thursday. I'm asking to go to 52. It's roughly 4%. The ride 18 rate on weekends, which is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're at 60. I'm asking to go to 62. The 9-hole rates are actually going to stay the same because we made a pretty significant increase for those last year. I think they're in a good spot. The walking rates are pretty much just increased to match that new cart fee. So take the riding 18 rate, take your cart fee out, and that's what the walking rate is going to be at that time of day. And then the senior rate, which we see a lot of, especially in the mornings, Monday through Thursday, asking to go up $3 on that. It's still a $7 discount from the proposed weekday rate, which is a pretty nice discount, especially when you see as many senior rates as what we're seeing. And then the twilight rate, again, it's the same. It's $3 increase. And then the Players Pass program, we've had that for a couple years now. A lot of our ladies associations taking advantage of that, and they encouraged me to try to get that left in, as long as no one has a problem with it. Basically, it's a $200 a year deal. The day you buy it, you get your that round paid for. So let's say you played on the weekend, it was $60. You paid your Players Pass. Basically, your break even is 14 rounds. You're saving $10 each time. So somebody who let's say they're going to play 25 times a year, the annual pass doesn't make sense, it's a good option for them. So, let's see, I don't think yeah, that's all as far as fees go. Do you need to go over any of the increase in costs or anything like that? Why I'm asking for this? Or?
Costs more.
Certainly, it certainly does.
I think we've done a good job most every year, at least in the past few years, we've went up every year to try and keep up with inflation and our competitors.
We had a lot of years there where we didn't go up, for a long time, and of course, the golf course suffered because of it. Trying to keep rates cheap kind of cost us in the long run, so.
Well, when you look at MSD, MSD, when I was on the board, they have subsequently since then. The public understands a little bit of an increase. You don't do the increases and just hit them all at once. Wow, what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was fairly reasonable compared to the other rates maybe that you see on the
Is there a chance we can go ahead and negotiate with the gentleman that lives behind 16 and see if he can give the permission to trim trees so that we can put the 17 back in the 747?
If someone knows who that is, sure. I'll be happy to call him.
Well, I'll be more than happy to give him a call, but just see if we can meet and then just simply meet him down there and say, this is what we're not asking for land, we're just asking so we can cut the tree, trim the trees.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's our signature hold, so to have it back to its original state would be great.
And I know the usage skyrocketed during COVID. Is it still about?
It's unbelievable. I have multiple days where I've got more golfers than I have tee times.
That was going to be my question too, but is that, even though you raised prices last time, did it affect you in any way?
Not at all. Yeah, it's just, there's so much demand, and quite honestly, there's so many people in town now that are playing. I would say 80% of our play, maybe even 85%, is public daily fee play. And a lot of it are folks that I might see them again like next year, because they're coming back in town. But it certainly hasn't affected play at all. It's been good. And I actually pulled some numbers just in case somebody asked, but we're on a trajectory to do very well with this.
So share it.
Go ahead and share
it. We want to hear it now.
If we finish out the year exactly like we finished April the 8th through June 30th of last year, we'll finish at $992,307, and we budgeted $864. So, we're about $128,000 ahead of that. Right now, so last year was a great year. Right now, we are $169,000 ahead of where we were last year at this time.
Yeah.
It hasn't affected play.
Good job.
That was my concern.
And I
Thank you.
hope you pass that on to your crew too.
Yeah,
They've done
Jerry
a
and his
wonderful
staff
job.
did a great job.
Right now, we're looking at, obviously, there's not been any new golf courses, that's almost a thing of the past, but how many golf courses have gone down, let's say, in the past couple of years?
You know, there was like a golf course a month was closing there for a while. But honestly, they started building new ones again because it's become so popular. There's millions of new golfers and the sport's changed. It's not as stuffy as maybe it once was. And, you know, some of these new golf leagues, it's just a kind of a different mindset. So hopefully it continues to grow.
Still demand.
You mentioned before kind of the problems that can happen when we don't keep up with changing rates and changing expenses and that kind of thing. Do you feel like the expenses that we're looking at least, are we like still playing catch up? Is this kind of keeping us?
You know, some of the projects that we need to do are going to be fairly significant. If we rebuild all of the, let's say just the 4 tee complexes, that's probably going to be somewhere between $150,000 and $180,000 by the time you move your irrigation and everything. I do think that if we're looking at doing that over like a couple-year period, and you know we do this again next year, I think we can make that happen. I would like to do it this year, but you know we're going to do bridges, I feel like, and car paths, which is another big expense. I think we can do it on this trajectory. We just can't do it all at once unless we made some really big leap in rates.
Or took some debt out.
Yeah. Well, and you know we got a golf course. I think we're going to make the last payment.
One more year, yep.
Which is nice.
So that'll be paid up when, this year?
This next budget that we're going to go into is the last payment.
But to answer your question, I just think that we have to be careful how much we jump in 1 year. But definitely over the next 2 to 3 years, we are going to have to come up and try to catch up with some of these other numbers that you see on here to do big projects.
So your goal would be to be more in line with the other numbers that we're looking at?
I mean,
other competitions.
But the problem is they're going to continue to go up too, as long
I know,
as.
trying to read their minds.
Yeah, as long as, and I mean, like a good example, Broadmoor, their dynamic pricing, that was something I never heard of until this year. But what they do is they base their rate on demand, so you don't know what you're paying until you get there.
Oh, interesting.
That's gold. That's gold.
Yeah, I mean, it can be very expensive.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions?
Thank you.
If not, do I hear a motion to accept the increase?
So moved.
All right, any discussion? If not, all in favor? All right, that passes. Thank you very much, Brent.
Thank you, Brett.
Good job.
And by the way, that golf course looks better than most around.
Golf course looks amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
like I said, that's all Jerry, so you see him give him a pat on the back. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll tell you this story real quick. As you know, as we had the lake dropped, you know, that has to be at a certain level because that's where we irrigate the golf course from. It's the lake, and he he was losing sleep. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? It'll be all right. Yeah, he will lose sleep over that golf course.
I went in just quickly about Jerry. I was over there just a couple of years ago talking to him about taking care of the greens and, you know, the fact that the men over there need boots and stuff. And so I said, you don't have any boots on. It's summertime. He said, no, I don't have to wear boots. So I said, why not? He says, because I can go ahead and take my shoes off and walk around the green. Tell them more about the grass in the field.
Well, he's been out there for a long time,
That's pretty cool.
20 plus years, 25 years.
That's wild.
All right.
9C, the consideration of adoption of electronics record policy. I'm gonna let you handle this.
All right. Most riveting thing for last, I swear. It's record retention. Thank y'all for staying. So I'll be very brief with this. This is, first of all, this is an internal policy, and it relates to our records and retention. the council has in place right now the records and retention policy for local municipalities, and you all adopted that, I believe the last was in 2021. And essentially that document is created by the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, and it tells basically the guidebook of what records, how long to keep such records, depending on what department it is. So in supplement to that, and also in an effort to go more paperless, this policy is called the Electronic Record and Imaging Policy, and it would be a supplement to your retention schedule that we have in place. But essentially, this is a guideline for town staff who are considered the record creators in this, to know, we can keep it for the retention period, but it would be in a digital format, so you would not have to keep paper copies in addition to a digital copy. However, you have to have this policy in place to do that, so you can't get rid of a paper copy until you have this policy in place. And so if this is adopted, we would send it to the Department of Natural Cultural Resources. They keep that on record to know that we are legit with our policy. The policy also has some guidelines on how to index digital files, also backing them up, and then purging them when the retention period ends. And Alice had a question about the purging, and I will elaborate on that. I did check with our IT vendor, and they do, basically when we purge something, if you're on the desktop and you delete a file, this goes away, but it's still kept by our IT vendor for a period of 2 weeks before it is gotten rid of. Now, emails are a little different. They do have a retention for a little bit longer with those. So if we deleted something and we had a public record request, we could get that from our IT vendor by running a report. So, and that is a little bit longer, and also it's based on the record retention schedule that the state sets. So basically, it's just a big policy of how staff can take these records to make them digital and make sure that they're organized. So, and so you don't have files here or there. There's classes and trainings that the state offers to help staff members know how to organize their files. Also, the town clerk position is sort of the record keeper anyway, so I'll help departments with some training on how to file their digital files, things like that.
Is this a program that we already have?
To my knowledge, this policy is a new policy.
Do we have this program as far as the capability of keeping electronic files?
We do.
Yes, we do.
We do.
Yes.
And we do that anyway now, but we keep paper copies too.
Okay.
Where do you keep
So-
the paper?
In folders. In filing cabinets. And where we can put them.
So is that gonna open up?
Evidence room?
I should show you, well, no. We don't, this building doesn't leak. So I can take you to the vault and show you the filing cabinets. They're just so full. I mean, it's just,
So is that gonna open up more office space for?
It could. Maybe a little.
So basically, right now, what this will do then is to help unload some of those cabinets.
I think so.
But for right now, we have, if we've got something that's digital, we also have the corresponding paper copy.
Yeah.
And I will make sure that this is for everyone to know, and the public as well, is there's some things that we have, the minutes and ordinances, things like that, we're not going to get rid of those. We're going to keep those because we've got minutes from when the town was incorporated, so we don't want to get rid of that. So there are a few caveats in the policy just based on the retention schedule. Our IT vendor has reviewed this policy. The State Department, the Cultural Resources Department has reviewed it. I did not create this policy, the former clerk did, so I'm not going to take the credit for this. So that was her, it just hasn't come forward to y'all. So once you adopt this, we can move forward with getting started on putting it in place.
Well, I appreciate how thorough it is, and for those that are getting to look at it, really outlines how things are done, and making sure that we're being good stewards and being accountable.
As Wesley said, the North Carolina Department of Cultural and Natural Resources, they set out the retention schedule that tell us how long we have to keep things.
We
So
have
that's
to be in compliance.
And we have to win, and everybody in the state follows office day schedule. So, you know, for permits, maybe longer than for,
What are yours, like 5 years?
some of them are 7,
And some are 5?
just depends,
5
yeah.
and 7, usually is.
But that's all outlined from someone else for us to follow.
And one more item I did want to add, I believe Alice had asked about the metadata.
Yeah, I was just curious for a definition on.
So I do have, real quick, I will just show you an example of what a metadata is. If you look at this slide right here, when you go into a file and you see the properties, you see when it was created, modified, that's an example of metadata. Also, the headers on emails are examples because it shows where it come from, what the time was, who it went to, what the title of it was. Sometimes public record requests do have metadata. My former place of employment, I had a public records request where I had to have metadata with the record request, and so they had to get all that, but our IT vendor had it available, which ours would too. So it's possible, so it does keep that as well, the stuff that usually you don't see, the back end of things. So very techy.
Thank you.
Yes.
Clarifying that.
Well, do I hear a motion?
I move that the council adopt the electronic records and imaging policy and procedures as presented.
Any discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Communication.
The General Assembly session opens around April 24th. It's a short session. It should last about 3 months. And you can track things to see if they do anything that might be of significance to the town. So that's coming up in a couple of weeks. We'll might have something to report to you in May, who knows? You try not to do things controversial during a short session, but it's not always guaranteed. We'll keep it up.
Thank you, Greg. Josh?
Couple things, golf tournament for the police department is on June the 3rd. We'll also have Safety Saturday on May the 18th. Last year we tried multiple times and it rained us out about every time. Maybe that was the year before, but we're gonna try, we keep trying to do that. And I need to read you a couple of highlights. Angela sent me this, the dam construction is progressing on schedule. However, there are gonna be some closures to Cragmont Road beginning the week of April 15th. The large tractor and trailers will be coming in delivering the block. So they will have to crane it out and get it set on the ground. So we'll put posts on social media and whatnot about that. And then Angela is gonna have some open office hours for anyone that has interest in town projects on Wednesday, May 22nd, between 5 and 6:30 p.m. That's it.
When will some of the meetings be starting on the $5 million grant? That she'll be dealing with, I guess, the engineer?
I would say probably in the next month or so. That should be coming up soon. Because I think we just approved that, and the contract's been signed, and so they're getting their ducks in order.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
Please, yeah, I'd like to be there.
Yeah.
Josh, do you have any update on the crosswalk on Muncie Road?
Actually, Jessica left, but she had gotten in touch with our street shopper, and he has had some issues with staffing, but he is gonna be here, I think she told me this month, to finish all that up.
And then the crosswalk at CVS, any update?
I don't have an update on that, but I will email DOT and get one.
Thank you.
We've done any updates on the recycling crates? Timeline?
I would say within 2 weeks or sooner.
They'll be.
We should be starting to deliver around April 17th.
This month?
Yes. Yep.
But I thought we hadn't approved the money.
The money to put them together, for people to come and decide that was right, yeah.
Because
We
you
got
got
the
the
final, I
delivery
didn't get
fee
the.
of $9,900, and we got, what, $29,000 for the assembly, so it's roughly $40,000. We've not approved that, though.
May have to have a special meeting before
Yeah,
that.
because I didn't get the,
I can do it at the budget
final invoice.
May have something on your budget meeting.
Yeah.
Yes. What else?
I don't have anything else. Anybody got anything?
I'd just like to say thank you that I believe Wesley was key in getting the signage at the dam.
Yes.
So people know what's going on, if they want more information, and I like that a lot. I think that resolved a lot of angst when the public showed up.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
It looks really good, really, really helpful.
Okay, you need to get a motion from somebody to go to closed session.
Communications for mayor and council.
Oh, I thought you'd already spoken.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to speak? Yeah, I said I didn't have anything. Didn't hear anybody chime up.
My bad.
So now, do I hear a motion that we go into closed session?
So,
Any discussion on it? Not, all in favor? I will say, let's take just a few minutes break here and then we'll go into it.